Hi everybody, I'm Geraldo Rivera. At about 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon local time, this vehicle struck a landmine while on patrol near the Pakistani border. Yesterday, this Humvee was carrying 7 soldiers from the 10th Mountain Division, as well as 4 journalists working for American news organizations who had come here to the Shkin Firebase to cover the renewed fighting along the border against the resurgent forces of the Taliban and remnants of Al-Qaeda. Our Fox News team was in the vehicle behind them. Actually, there was one between us and then our vehicle. And we watched in horror as the Humvee was knocked first into the air and then partially onto its side by the force of the blast. Tonight, in a Fox News exclusive, we'll be bringing you the inside story of what exactly happened up on Lozano Ridge. Also tonight, and this is a Fox News alert. Soldiers have been killed. At least 5 U.S. soldiers have been killed and 7 others injured Sunday in a helicopter crash near U.S. headquarters here in Afghanistan. In a moment, we'll be telling you all we know about what is already one of the worst air disasters to hit us here since the terror war began. And as you're about to see, the news today is just as grim from the other front in the bloody, brutal war against terror, the front in Iraq. So here then the show. A devastating helicopter crash in the skies over our big Bagram air base not far from the Afghan capital. Whether an accident or caused by hostile fire, the price has been steep. At least 5 dead, 7 others injured in what is already one of the worst air disasters since the Afghan war began 2 years ago. The casualties come during Operation Mountain Resolve, an ongoing offensive against resurgent Taliban and Al-Qaeda forces in a still violent and troubled country. We'll bring you the latest. Here at the Shkin Firebase, our 8-vehicle patrol is making its way along the Pakistan border when a mine explodes under a Humvee carrying troops and other journalists. At least 2 soldiers are injured, one of them severely, a sergeant losing his leg when the mine explodes under his unarmored vehicle. In the chaos of combat, we watch as our convoy unleashes ferocious covering fire, but the enemy had already fled. Tonight, a Fox News exclusive, trouble on Lozano Ridge. And do we buy this?
Sure got it right. I think you asked why we don't talk about Osama bin Laden anymore. Primarily because he has taken himself out of the picture.
Osama and Saddam are the world's most wanted criminals, yet their personal importance is now being downplayed. How important really is their death or capture? We'll debate. So stand by. We are live and at large at the Shkin Firebase and around the world. Before we begin our in-depth coverage tonight over what's happening in Iraq, first here in Afghanistan, standing alongside me, Major Dennis Sullivan, one of the officers of the 10th Mountain Division, the unit, obviously, with which we were traveling Sunday afternoon when that mine exploded. Major, I love you guys. I just want to know, though, once you suffer a casualty like that, with the sergeant losing his leg, anything could have happened. Is it like when you get thrown from a horse that you've got to get back on, you've got to get back out there on patrol? You can't let that kind of incident rattle you.
It's exactly like what it is. Right now, what we've got is everyone that was involved in that accident yesterday is either out there now or will be out there again today. They've got to deal with the feelings and emotions that they had yesterday, learn and grow from the experience, and not dwell on it. They need to get on. Yes, we're sad, and we're dealing with that and coping with the trauma event that occurred, but we're getting back in that horse and we're taking the fight to the enemy again today.
Isn't it a bitch, though, Major, that you have a situation that these 2 guys wounded, this is their first day at the Shkin Firebase?
It is tough, but I'll tell you that they've been in Afghanistan quite a while now. It's an experienced unit, and though it's their first day really out on patrol here at Shkin was yesterday, we now have just determined the resolve of that company has just been hardened. Now you've got another rifled company, the most lethal thing here in Afghanistan. You got a whole company more determined, more resolved. They're going to fight all the harder because of the loss they felt on their first day.
Yeah, step forward with me. Carl, pan these faces of the most lethal weapon right now in Afghanistan. When I ask, or rather when I make this comment, you know, I've seen combat all the way from Laos to the present day, over 3 decades, and I have to say that your unit was very cool under fire. You should be proud of them.
Oh, we are, and we've been proud of them every day since they've been in Afghanistan. They've continued to show themselves as true warriors, true war fighters. From the day one to yesterday, as you've seen that their training has paid off. We've got some great leadership here. They train their soldiers hard, both back at Fort Drum before we came, and even now while we're here, they continue to perform well.
Okay, we're going to talk far more. Let's rejoin our guys. We're going to talk far more about that incident in Afghanistan. Any other news I get. I just want to ask Major Sullivan, how's morale? How's morale right now?
Well, it's still high. It's like the stock market. There's highs and lows to it, but morale is staying steady and continue to increase every day as we continue to take the fight to the enemy and do well in our engagements with them. We took some losses yesterday, but morale is still high. Guys are starting to cope with it. They cope with it differently, but there's no issues with morale here.
Okay, I just want, again, I can't say this enough. When you're in the field and someone gets bloodied that way, that's a bond you never lose. I want to take. Oh, I tell you what, we got former Assistant Secretary of Defense Lawrence Korb with us. Sorry, Secretary Korb. I tell you what, let me take a break, Secretary Korb. I'll bring you and Ambassador Mamasani of the Arab League on board, and then we'll get to that incident up on Lozano Ridge. So give us a minute. We'll be right back. I know that my wife Erica and Craig's wife Cordelia were very concerned about us. There's a 22-year-old kid, specialist couch. You want to say hi to your folks? Tell me okay?
I was going to say hi to my dad. He's actually home on leave right now from Iraq. He heads back in a few days.
In the Army too?
He is.
All right. Throw him a kiss for it. All right, now to that mine explosion that injured two of the 10th Mountain soldiers we were accompanying on Sunday up at Lozano Ridge. The bitter irony of what went down up there on Sunday afternoon is that it is in almost exactly the same spot where these soldiers fought a brilliant battle back on September 29th. Although we did lose one of our GIs on the 29th, we gave the bad guys a bloody nose. Yesterday, though, it was their turn. Here it is, as it happened, up on Lozano Ridge. We've just had what seems an improvised explosive device. 1-7 just hit a mine. One of our vehicles just hit a landmine.
You guys back over here! Get down! Get down! Hey! Right there!
One of our vehicles hit a landmine. We've got casualties. We think we're taking fire. We're returning it. We're scattering that ridge line with all we can give them. We've got people hurt.
The 105s or the 81s?
105s and 81s. Let's put them all here. They're calling for mortar support. They're gonna saturate that area with mortar fire, suppression fire.
We're riding in the patrol. There were vehicles ahead of us, and Sergeant Story had just sent. They're bringing out the casualty now. He was one of our drivers that's coming out there now. As we were driving along, we hit a Humvee. The vehicle came over onto the side.
He's hurt bad. He's hurt real bad.
We were with him just a few moments ago.
God.
Everything in the vehicle came on top of me. I was buried underneath it, and they were yelling at me just to crawl. I couldn't move for a bit until everyone on top of me had moved away, and once the soldiers had moved off, then I just crawled back here. We were told to take cover in this bunker.
Watch it hold! Watch it hold! Watch it hold!
Right now, the order has come out to watch and hold. It does not appear as if there is any active enemy here. But obviously they got hip to the fact that we use this road. They mined it sometime in the not too distant past. Our forces at the fort are laying down suppression fire from where any attack might come from, assuming that it wasn't just a passive anti-personnel mine. They're suppressing that ridge as the rescue choppers come in. An Apache overhead, a gunship to provide cover. The medevac chopper now circling in. bitterly ironic that the heroes of that classic 12-hour firefight on this very location would suffer a casualty, just as some of these companies were being rotated home. What went through your mind?
I just wanted to, first thing that went through my mind is there was a lot of dust around us, and I wanted to make sure that all the people I work with were fine, and that everybody in the vehicle was fine. And then the next thing, I wanted to make sure that we got to some place where if there was a firefight, we were out of the way.
All of a sudden, everything just went black. I went end over my head. I heard gunfire, and I just started squirming to a rock.
As our forces work to investigate and secure this area, the team that was on board the affected truck and the rest of us are being evacuated to a safer area. Our mate here was driving, Lockman was driving.
It's scary as hell, sir. I don't ever want to do that again.
After the blast, were your hands still on the steering wheel?
Yes, my hands never left the steering wheel until I started to climb out. I thought I was still driving.
When did you realize that wasn't so?
When everything started to clear up, that's when I saw the sky hanging out of the driver's side door. So I knew we were on the side, and that's when I started to climb out.
At the end of the long and violent day, the wrecked Humvee was airlifted by one of the giant Chinook helicopters and brought back here to the Shkin Firebase. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm at the Shkin Firebase, hard by the Pakistani border. It's a place that is now called the evilest in Afghanistan. It earned its reputation yesterday, certainly, when this Humvee, as you just saw, was destroyed by a landmine at the terrible cost of a man, sergeant, who was sitting in this seat, lost his leg. You can obviously see why and what happened. This, we don't know whether it was by design or by chance, but this is an unarmored Humvee, like this truck. Captain, move aside there, and Staff Sergeant, that's one of the unarmored trucks. That's what this thing looked like yesterday. The armored one, however, now move around here, guys. Let's see that. If the first or second vehicle in our convoy had hit that same landmine, they call these things armor up. You know, that sergeant who lost his leg, and God bless him, thank God he survived, because it didn't look good when we were out there. But man, he really pulled through, and he's doing well. He's talking and everything. You know, he's doing well, and I'm sure his family's very relieved. But if he was in this vehicle, he would have had a sprained ankle. But the fact that they let or whatever, by chance maybe, the two armored ones pass that landmine, only to have the unarmored truck impact it, that's, whether it was a coincidence or whether that was a command-detonated mine, that's why we took those awful casualties up there on Lozano Ridge yesterday. But I want to go back to where we started. I want to look at the GIs who are fighting for you, for your freedom against the war on terror. I want to ask you, who are you?